Hey everybody, welcome to another IGTV. It's Jill K, functional nutritionist from Down to Earth Wellness. How are you doing today? We are going to talk about, do you have low energy? Have you had your thyroid checked? Is your thyroid to blame? So let's get into that. We're going to do a quick video. If you haven't heard, if we haven't met yet, I work with women who are dealing with burnout and who are outdoorsy and want more energy. I help them tackle their fatigue and make small gradual changes to help them have more energy naturally. We do this through food, lifestyle, and supplementation. If you can hear my dog making noise in the background, that's my dog. All right, so let's talk about the thyroid. So when it comes to fatigue, there can be many reasons why we're dealing with fatigue and low energy. It's multifactorial, right? It's not just one thing. Everyone doesn't just have one reason, like, oh, it's because we're all stressed out or we're all not sleeping well. There's many different factors that come into play when we're dealing with fatigue. So my question for you, and comment below, is have you had your thyroid checked recently or ever? Does thyroid issues or do thyroid issues run in your family? Something to investigate. So I'm just going to follow my notes here. Again, fatigue is multifactorial. We've got to look at all the factors. So when clients come to me to work together, we look at their symptoms, we do a full health assessment, we look at their diet, we look at how they're feeling, we create a timeline. When did these symptoms pop up? Ask yourself, when did you start to feel tired? When did these symptoms crop in? When in your life did you have lots of energy? And what was happening then compared to now? What has changed? Some things to think about, right? So we always dig deeper. We get the full picture when it comes to your health and client's health so that we can get the correct tests, dig into things with symptomology. Again, I don't diagnose or treat disease, but I work alongside you and your other health practitioners so that we can get a real clear picture of what's going on with your fatigue. I do some testing, some nerdy science testing, which is so helpful, like the GI map test and the Dutch test. So helpful. We'll get into it at some point later on. So anyway, when it comes to thyroid issues, there's various thyroid issues that can crop up. Let me know if you know of any of these ones. There's underactive thyroid, which is really, really common that we see a lot with women all over the world, definitely contributing to fatigue, low energy, dry skin, thinning hair, poor sleep, cravings, difficulty losing weight, heart palpitations. And a lot of these symptoms for the different thyroid issues are overlapping. So we see a lot of the same symptoms for the different thyroid issues. So another thyroid issue that is very common is Hashimoto's, and that is more the autoimmune related underactive thyroid component that we see. And a lot of people who have underactive thyroid tend to actually have Hashimoto's, which is again that autoimmune component. So we might approach that a little bit differently in supporting the immune system, simmering it down, supporting it, lowering inflammation. But again, the symptoms can be very similar. Extreme fatigue. So ask yourself, do you have these symptoms? Joint pain, body pain, hair loss, thinning eyebrows, constipation, cold all the time, inability to stay warm, tired all the time, sleep issues, hormonal issues, heart palpitations, cravings for sugar, carbs, or all of the above, dry skin. These kind of symptoms are really common when it comes to a low-level underactive thyroid, Hashimoto's. The other thyroid issues we also see are overactive thyroid, which aren't as common, but it definitely happens, where the opposite is true. People have different symptoms. Their temperature can be higher. They have an inability to gain weight. Energy can be all over the map, as well as Graves is another autoimmune component for thyroid as well. So definitely check those out. If you've heard of them, if you haven't heard of them, they're definitely good to look into. And again, ask yourself if you have any of those symptoms. If you're dealing with fatigue, do you have other symptoms as well? And it's really good to test and not guess, because we can base a lot on symptomology. It's hugely powerful and important to look at, but then it's also nice to test things out and see routine blood work. How is your thyroid looking? So that's what I wanted to share today. If you want to get into that, you can always work with me. You can work with a practitioner, a health practitioner, where we can get deeper into things, really assessing how you're feeling, looking at your blood work. So when it comes to thyroid as well, ask yourself these questions. How is your gut health? These things are all very connected to thyroid health. How is your gut? Because thyroid connection is very connected to the health of our gut. Is your gut, do you feel like you have gut issues? Do you have IBS, constipation, bloating, gas, diarrhea, any GI issues we have to look at when it comes to energy and thyroid health. How are your adrenals and stress? Because the thyroid is kind of downstream from the adrenals. So if you've been under long-term chronic stress or acute stress or a lot of stress, we've got to always look at supporting the adrenals and the stress going on in your body. If it's lifestyle stress, lack of sleep, if it's food stress, we've got to look at that. I've got a candle burning here and it's like smoking away, so hopefully I don't see the smoke flowing over here. It's nice though, it's nice for the ambiance. So another thing you have to really look at is looking at your stress, your adrenals, also your diet and absorption. Like, why do we have this plethora of thyroid issues happening in North America? These are some of the factors that I'm listing. It's not all of them, but it's a lot of the main factors of why there's so many thyroid issues. Gut health, gut issues, gut bugs, high stress, adrenal dysfunction, as well as diet, your food that you're eating, and the absorption. Are you absorbing it? Are you eating a well-balanced diet that has selenium and sea salt and minerals and iodine? We tend to not eat as much iodine-rich foods as we did in the past. Our soils are more depleted than in the past, so we lose a lot of minerals, as well as iodine, and the thyroid really needs iodine to function well. Are you also absorbing your nutrients well? Are you not breaking your nutrients down because gut health is impaired? So those are things to think about, as well as environmental toxins. Are you drinking lots of chlorinated water around a lot of chemicals that actually compete for the receptor sites of iodine? As you remember on the periodic table, iodine is really good for the thyroid, but a lot of chemicals can actually compete for that receptor site, like chlorine, fluoride, bromine. They can compete. So if you're around a lot of chemicals every day, that can absolutely have an impact on your thyroid. So those are just some factors. And yeah, so when it comes to digging deeper, I want to suggest get a full thyroid panel whenever you can. A lot of times, ooh, it's sunny. A lot of times clients will go to the doctor and ask for thyroid testing. They're told that everything is fine, but maybe you don't feel fine, right? And that can be because they are not doing enough in-depth testing. We're not getting the full picture of the thyroid. They might just be testing your TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone, which is not the full picture of how your thyroid's doing. So if you've had that done and you've been told it's normal, that's all right. We need to dig deeper. And sometimes too, with Western medicine, they have larger ranges. So you might be at the very low normal range and told, hey, that looks fine. You're low normal. Whereas in the functional world, we have tighter ranges and we want you in the optimal range. So you might be low normal. We actually want you higher up in the optimal range. So here are some tests to consider getting if you're suspecting thyroid issues, or maybe you know you have thyroid issues and you're on medication, but you're not feeling any different. It might need to be adjusted or modified based on some more in-depth testing. So get your TSH tested. Get your free T3, your free T4, which is how much T3 and T4 are actually available in the body for usage. Reverse T3 is really nice to get as well, which is like the storage form of T3. These things are all how your thyroid functions. They're converted to supporting your thyroid. So it's really important we get a gauge on how they're looking, as well as your thyroid antibodies. So TSH, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, thyroid antibodies, thyroid peroxidase, thyroglobulin. Those would be great because that can tell us if there's antibodies and can point us in the direction if there's an autoimmune component happening with your thyroid. So that's more of a full picture of the thyroid. I highly recommend you get that. Again, if you're experiencing symptoms, you're feeling tired, you have all these chronic issues that aren't going away, don't settle for low energy and feeling like crap. Go get it checked out or work with a health practitioner. Even like myself, we can figure that out and work with other health practitioners or get you that testing that you need so we can get a full picture of what's going on with your health. Again, as well as symptomology, full health assessment. So those were the tests I highly recommend. And then after that, we can migrate into a healing, supportive, a balanced protocol for your thyroid, for your energy, once we have a full picture. So we can look at how do we actually support the thyroid from there? Well, depending on what's going on, if it's underactive, hyperactive, if it's an autoimmune component, if you're already on medication, we have to completely keep that in mind. But then we can look at thyroid nourishing foods that are so good for your thyroid, iodine rich foods, selenium rich foods, sea salt, minerals, adrenal support we can look at. We also have to look at food culprits that might be impacting your thyroid. So if there's any thyroid issues going on, especially Hashimoto's, you gotta ditch the gluten. Gluten can really have an effect on the thyroid function. It does something called cellular mimicry. It can mimic, and sorry, there's things going off in my computer. So we've got to ditch the gluten, as well as often dairy sometimes has to go as well to really support that thyroid. It depends on what's going on with each client. So we've got to look at common food culprits, and then we can look at all sorts of food that can support your thyroid. Again, I mentioned a few, and adrenal support, which is diet, lifestyle, supplement targeted. We do a lot of things for the adrenals and managing your stress. And then we look at lowering the inflammation in your body, moving towards an anti-inflammatory diet, lots of anti-inflammatory foods, lowering the stress in your body, and just bringing it back to balance as best we can using food, lifestyle, and supplementation, targeted supplementation, and then also working with your other healthcare provider. So that's kind of where we'd migrate into after we have a full picture of how your thyroid's doing. And if you want to learn more, or you want to get that checked out, or maybe if you've been struggling with thyroid issues for a long time, you already know about it or you're suspecting, comment below, or feel free to touch base with me. You can shoot me a DM if you're on Instagram, Facebook, or if you're over on my website, you can contact me through email, Jill at getdowntoearthwellness.com, and we can book a strategy call and go from there. And I'd be happy to help you dig into this puzzle, right? And get some clarity, and then make an action plan moving forward. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you soon.